lasting cooperation.
Then, in 1965, came UDI. Any chance of a peaceful transition to black government was destroyed, in the words of Ian Smith, for 1,000 years at least.
I believe that we are a courageous people, and history has cast us in a heroic road.
Britain lacked the will to put down this constitutional treason. The UN could only offer sympathy and sanctions, and the scene was set for guerrilla warfare.
It must be a terrible responsibility to have to bear, to know that you were instrumental in starting a war. I mean, however just you feel a conflict to be.
No. I didn't feel any conflict at all. I felt justified. There was the whole history of our having tried non-violent methods. They had failed completely. And neither the settler regime nor Britain heeded our cries. They just wouldn't move. They wouldn't yield an inch. And so we decided, without any qualms about it, that armed struggle would be the right thing.
Have either of you personally ever carried a gun or fired a shot in anger?
That's what Smith says about me, that I haven't fired a shot in anger. But I'm not a trained soldier as such. I'm a revolutionary nevertheless.
It's a revolution that's brought out that most conservative of emotions, plain, old-fashioned patriotism. Zimbabweans are always said to be a gentle people, but ZANU now claims to have 40 or 50,000 able-bodied personnel, and it's broadly accepted that they've up to 15,000 men and women at arms. ZANU's military commander, Josiah Tongogara, was the most feared and wanted man in Ian Smith's Rhodesia. He trained for a time in China, but had to learn the hard way how to fight a guerrilla war.
We have learned a lot. In fact, I would rather say Smith is our great teacher.
Smith is a great teacher?
Yes, because all the attacks he has made on us has improved our tactics. So each attack he makes, we sit down, analyze it, make scientific analysis, and then we come out with some solution to it, and that is part of increasing our knowledge.
But Tongogara's army has been accused of grotesque atrocities, massacring missionaries, butchering and intimidating blacks. ZANU blames Rhodesia's undercover troops, but neither side will admit to anything more serious than an occasional misdemeanor. These pictures are published by Zimbabwe Rhodesia's Information Ministry.
If you have got an army of, say, about 40,000, 50,000, you are likely to find some people mad people who may even commit some atrocities. But definitely this we are trying to stamp it out. And we have been trying that, and we have never had any official report of a group of ZANU forces going to massacre the people.
We are fighting a war which is a very difficult one, but in spite of the difficulties posed by the enemy, we take care not to make people unnecessarily suffer.
But I quote from your own publication, Zimbabwe News, all land to the tillers, socialism now, you have to hit a racist settler in the groin and skull hard, very, very hard, before you can get him to scream those words. That's what we proposed, that's what we will continue to do till final victory. Let us never forget that only a dead imperialist is a good one. Now, is that the kind of language that's likely to make soldiers behave responsibly?
This is only a dramatic way of saying we are waging a struggle to overthrow the settler system. It does not literally mean that we go all out to destroy the whites. No, we are fighting a just war aimed at the overthrow of the settler government, which is presently oppressing our people.
You see, I wonder whether language like that might not incite young men to commit the most appalling acts within the conflict.
No one is fighting an individual war. All our fighters are fighting collectively under a command that derives its authority from the central committee of the party.
Inside Zimbabwe, the guerrillas say they've widespread support. This ZANU film was taken in what they call a liberated area, where they claim to have effectively set up their own administration, even to the extent of giving white farmers ZANU passes for safe conduct. They're farming themselves, sometimes on a huge scale, and they're teaching the villagers how to put their theories of socialist cooperation into practice.
Do you find a lot of supporters among the villagers?
Oh yes, oh yes. When we open a new area, we don't just go and fight. First of all, we make a study, investigation among the masses. They tell us their national grievances, and those we exploit and use them. You explain to them why you have come to them, why you are fighting this war. They have to understand it, and they have to. Or you've also got to explain the difficulties which will come thereafter from the enemy, because the enemy is going to conduct some atrocities. So you've got to explain this to them, and you let them volunteer themselves and say, yeah, we are ready for that. We are prepared to face any difficulties in order to liberate our own country.
This man knows from personal experience whether Tongogara and Mugabe are broadly telling the truth or not. Johannes Martens was kidnapped from his farm last year and spent 6 months in ZANU captivity. When he and another white were released, both praised the guerrillas, though in Britain only 2 national newspapers reported what they said. Now out of danger, and presumably to the bewilderment of most of his white compatriots, Mr. Martens still insists that the guerrillas did not live up to their terrorist image.
First of all, I thought, well, this is it now, you know. This is where the end of my road will be, you know. This is where they're going to burn me alive. This is where they're going to really have the joy of, you know, cutting me up or doing, you know, I've read it, I've seen it, I heard it, read it in the papers how these people will be tortured. I mean, it's not a secret.
But in fact you were treated well.
If I must be honest, then I cannot say otherwise. Never have they ever laid a hand on me.
Were the villagers, did they appear to be sympathetic towards...
My goodness me, what do you mean? I mean, how would you put it? I mean, yeah, they are the terrorists. Yeah, they come and get these people together. They are rejoicing, to put it, you know, at the least. I mean, these people were shouting and laughing and happy, and they were actually rejoicing.
Well, I can tell you one story that happened not too far away from me, where some guerrillas came into a small group of houses, and the people welcomed them, and the women went and cooked for them. There was a poor old sub-chief there whose job it is to report anything that's wrong. And if he didn't report this, he knew that he could be put into jail for 20 years, and now that we've got martial law in some areas, if he'd lived in one of those areas, he could be hanged. So he quietly took his bicycle and went off and reported it to the authorities, thinking that they would let him go back and perhaps send some soldiers back with him, but by that time the guerrillas would be away. However, they kept him at the center, and they sent out some soldiers dressed as guerrillas, who, when they entered the village, of course were received as true guerrillas would be received. But they opened up with their automatic weapons and killed 5 people, including 2 teenage girls, and went on their way. Well, the old sub-chief hadn't come back, but he came back the next day, and the people by this time quite knew what had happened. So they just took him and killed him. And this is one of the terrible things, the division of families, the enmities that are made, the whole tragic story, where there should have been an evolution. Now we're in a revolution.